Dear student, I am Dr. Harold Thomas, Professor in Applied Geology, Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalaya Sagar. Today, I will deliver my lecture on definition of metamorphism. I will cover this topic in two parts. In part 1, I will proceed under the following heads: Introduction to Metamorphism. Hope it will be useful for you. Try to be regular in course. It is not uncommon to find a gradual transition from sedimentary or igneous rocks whose mineralogy and structure can neither be ascribed to sedimentary nor magmatism. Such transition clearly indicates that igneous and sedimentary rocks are subjected to physicochemical conditions different from those under which they were originally formed. The term metamorphism was introduced in literature by the British petrologist Charles Lee 1833, who observed the mineralogical and structural changes in exposed outcrops in deeply eroded mountain. Later, Von Hess in 1904 introduced the term metamorphism to explain the changes in mineralogical composition and structure in rocks due to the result of pressure temperature change, and this definition of metamorphism would include weathering and diagenesis. Today, weathering and diagenesis are excluded from the definition of metamorphism as defined by Turner and Varugan 1960. Metamorphism is the mineralogical and structural adjustment of solid rocks to physical and chemical conditions which have been imposed at depth below the surface zone of weathering and cementation, and which differ from the condition under which the rock is originally formed. Metamorphism is the process of mineralogical and structural changes in the solid state in response to physical and chemical conditions which differ from the condition prevailing during the formation of the parent rocks. However, the changes occurring within the domain of weathering and diagenesis are commonly excluded. Igneous rocks are formed at relatively higher temperature of approximately 650 to 1200 degrees centigrade. On the other hand, the sedimentary rocks are formed at lower temperature less than 200 degrees centigrade. When solidified igneous rocks and sedimentary rocks are subjected to temperature of more than 200 degrees centigrade or so, metamorphism first begin in certain rocks, for example, basic igneous rocks, gravaks, etc. Within this range of temperature, namely that between the temperature of deposition of sediments up to the beginning of metamorphism, mineral crystallization take place in sediments that give rise to the same minerals that form under the near surface condition of sediments. The term diagenesis apply to those processes as long as the sedimentary mineralogical character is present. Thus, at low temperature site temperature more than 200 degrees centigrade, metamorphism merges within the process of diagenesis. Processes like compaction, sedimentation, replacement, and recrystallization, or in other words, it comprises all changes take place in sediments between sedimentary and one set of metamorphism, commonly do not exceed 800 degrees centigrade or so, merge with partial melting or anatexis of quartzo-feldspathic rocks, schist and gneisses. During metamorphism, at rising pressure and temperature condition, shell, sandstone and limestone are metamorphosed to mica schist, quartzite and marble, respectively. In this lecture, I will proceed under the following heads: definition of metamorphism and summary. Hope it will be useful for you. Try to be regular in course. Metamorphic rocks are found in the core of orogenic belts world over. Metamorphic rocks are formed when a pre-existing rock is subjected to pressure and temperature condition resulting in change of form mineralogical texture and structural changes. If suppose you will see right from slate to gneissic rocks, then you can observe there is a change in mineralogy, change in structure as compared to pre-existing rocks. The term metamorphism is derived from the Greek word meta equal to change, morph equal to form. So metamorphism means to change form. In petrology, metamorphism refers to change in a rock mineralogy, texture, structure and or composition that occur predominantly in the solid state under the condition between those of diagenesis and large scale melting. The term diagenesis and weathering are commonly excluded from the preview of or within the limit of metamorphism. Note that diagenesis is also process of change which usually comes under the formation of sedimentary rock. The different processes like compaction, lithification, cementation and diagenesis occur. The IUGS SCMR, the IUGS Subcommission on Systematic of Metamorphic Rocks, has proposed the following definition of metamorphism. Tiomolik Kosek et al. 2007. Metamorphism is a subsolidus processes leading to the change in mineralogy and or texture, for example grain size, and often in chemical composition of a rock, dominantly in solid state. These changes are due to physical and or chemical condition that differ from those normally occurring at the surface of the planets and in zones of cementation and diagenesis below this surface. They may coexist with partial melting and may also involve change in bulk chemical composition of the rock. If the rock undergo bulk composition change, the term metasomatism is used. During metamorphism, the rock of the same composition develop different minerals when affected to different composition of pressure and temperature. For example, calcareous assemblages during greenschist phases condition develop epidote, calcite, tremolite or actinolite plus minus quartz, and the same composition develop different minerals during amphibolite phases, for example diopside, plagioclase, gracilurite, calcite plus minus quartz. The minerals composition comes from the original rocks and not from the outside, and elements are only redistributed to form new minerals in response to change of pressure and temperature condition, and may be same change during devolatilization reaction when the rocks begin to cool. The isochemical metamorphism is responsible for the preserving the original composition throughout the metamorphism. Therefore, if a sequence is peltic basalt and limestone is metamorphosed, we can observe schist, metabasite and marbles. Dear student, today in this lecture, we have discussed about the definition of metamorphism, part 2. I have covered this topic under the following heads: definition of metamorphism. I believe this lecture was useful for you. For further studies, please read the textbook, references and links given in the text. Thank you very much.